This man's wife took her own life, and his little son was ripped from his arms. After becoming an alcoholic, he lost everything and became homeless. But after approaching this piano, his life changed completely. Who was really this beggar? What did he do with this piano in the middle of the street? In the city of Sarasota, located in the American state of Florida, there was a real-life story. One of those stories that are so inspiring that will certainly give you a lesson of optimism for life. It is very common to have different types of projects, but one specific event made everyone meet a man who would be remembered for a long time worldwide. A project called Sarah Accents aimed to spread music and discover new talents. For that, old upright pianos were installed in various public places so they could play it. Throughout the weeks, many people impressed various residents and tourists with their talent and even became internet celebrities because there was always someone with a cell phone in hand filming everything. But what those people had no idea of was that a man out of the standards they used to have, and who visually was considered a nobody without any study, changed everything when he did something unimaginable. Who was this man? That thin, almost skeletal man was already well known to the residents who passed by his side. He used to sleep in every day, and some residents, even in a mocking tone, often called him a caveman because of his beard and messy, dirty hair. But the man was not born a beggar, like many other people who are homeless today. That man's name was actually Donald, and he was already in his 50s. No one had any idea, but he is a former naval sailor who spent a good few years of his life playing clarinet in many parts of the world with the US Navy crew. He came close to getting his diploma, but had to stop because of something that turned his world upside down. In 1998, his wife took her own life. The man lost his land because he loved her so much. He definitely could not understand why she did that. With the loss of that woman, the most important thing in his life, he lost his mind and sense of life and ended up developing a severe addiction to alcohol. The detail was that Donald has a young son named Donnie, and the man started using too much. He didn't take care of anything good for the little boy, and as expected, his son was taken away from him. With everything that was going on in his life, it was not safe to have the child with him. So his aunt, the landlady, reported the man's situation to social services, and although it pained her, she knew it was the best thing to do. From that moment on, Donald was getting worse, and little by little, the sad fate began to be drawn in front of him. Struggling internally with addiction, he had stopped studying and working and ended up being evicted from the house he lived in for not having enough money to pay the rent, and consequently ended up on the streets of the city. But God had much bigger plans for Donald. He may not see the way out, but in the future, on a certain morning, he would have a unique opportunity to change the course of his life and share his music and talent with the whole world. Magic happens in the year 2015. Everything was about to change for that man, and there was still no telling how big a single action of his would be. His life would be turned upside down again, but now it would make a lot of sense during the project. Waiting to showcase what he did best, he was watching a young man play. He stood there lurking, waiting for his chance to show off his talent, so the young man got up. The beggar approached the piano a little shyly, put his hat next to the instrument to earn a few tips. When that beggar began to play, everyone was stunned and shocked by what was happening in front of their eyes. Everyone passing by at that moment did not think twice before taking out their cell phones from their pockets and started recording the scene, which they considered something unusual. Many people who up to that moment looked at the beggar with disgust began to feel sorry for having despised this man who was now proving to be so talented. It was then that many took some dollar bills from their pockets to thank for the beautiful music that was playing. But in the middle of all those people, there was a girl named Aurora Natasha who was attentive to everything and began to film the emotional moment. With that precious video, she would take an attitude that would bring the best to this man's life. Natasha decided to share the unusual fact that a homeless man could also play the piano on her social media, and in her post she wrote, "This homeless person now has the opportunity to become more than just a nuisance on the sidewalks. It took my breath away." Gaining recognition within a week after the video was posted, his impromptu piano performance surpassed 7.5 million views on YouTube and more than 5 million views on Facebook due to the outpouring of shares and comments. Help started pouring in from all over the world. People definitely wanted to help change Donald's life. Just a few days after the video went viral, even the TV show Inside Edition aired the man's story. One person from the TV crew decided to help even more and created a fundraising page on Goal Movie to help Donald get rid of alcohol. Weeks later, the donation page had already raised over $40,000. But the blessings didn't stop there. He moved into temporary housing and finally got the chance to get a haircut and shave his beard, at which point he definitely became someone else. Or rather, he came to his senses and who he really was. And he received something even greater. An institution helped the man with a promising future, and by donating a full scholarship so he could finish his course that he had left in the middle and finally receive his college degree. After Donald was discovered around the world, many incredible things happened in his life, such as he was praised on Twitter, even by Ashton Kutcher. But the most remarkable thing about this man, who lived for years on the streets, was to be invited to play the national anthem at an NFL game, and it would be televised to all of San Francisco. This special day would be marked in his life not only for doing something so great, but also because it was the first time he ever flew in an airplane. Looking at the sights and places on the high side made Donald's mind go into meltdown at that moment when he knew he could have everything he wanted. As impossible as it seemed, many broadcasters wanted to interview him. In one of his interviews, Donald said that of the moments he has had in his life, this was definitely one of the sweetest. Every moment during these days was amazing. I every day was thankful for the things that many would consider simple, like a hot coffee and the roof over my head. In addition, an independent record label in Florida called Triple Pop gave the owner a record deal, and a hit single called Come Sail Away was released. Everything was really perfect in his life, but there was still something he felt he needed to mend his relationship with his son, as his son Donnie had been taken in by social services. He ended up being adopted by another family at that time. Donnie's new family did not refuse to allow Donald to make up the requested time away from his son. Eventually, they re-established the phone contact, through which they received psychological help when he was still a child, and he ended up not being angry with his father. He developed a lot of empathy to understand how his father had lost his mind at the time due to situations, mainly the loss of his wife. Donald and Donnie on some weekends would get together to walk and talk a little, and a few times a year they would travel together to make up for all the lost time. Overnight, Donald Gould's life changed completely. A man discredited in every way was given back his dreams. If at some point in your life, due to certain circumstances, you stopped dreaming, remember that as long as there is resilience, there is hope. And as our friend Donald said in one of his interviews, you should always dream big. If you liked this video, don't forget to like it and leave your comments in the box. Subscribe to hear similar stories and share with your friends. See you next time!